Thanks for watching my previous videos. In this video, I'm going to talk about account section and how do we manage and administer our Snowflake account. So while I'm walking you through the Snowflake console, this is the third video of the series and we are going to talk about account section. In the previous videos, I covered database sections and the warehouse sections. So account section, account tab, you are not able to see here on the top bar because my current role is sysadmin and sysadmin does not have the access to manage account administrations. So to manage the account, we would need to select either the account admin or the sysadmin role. So when I go to switch role and see the list of the roles, switch the role to account admin, will select here switch role, and here we see the list of roles. So these are the system specific roles, and the most powerful role is the account admin. So let's select the account admin and we will see that account section or account tab would be appearing here very soon. So here it is, the account tab. When we click on the account tab, there are a couple of sections here. The first is uses, and this gives you the almost kind of not real time, but this gets refreshed on daily basis. So daily during night time the cycle runs and it updates the uses, so you will not be able to track the usage here at the real time. For tracking the usage at real time, you can query the usage history, which will have the lag of around 2 hours or so. So here, this is the account name, and we see that just below this account name we have warehouses. So total 7 warehouse we have in the account. Total 2.76 credits has been used, and below is the list of the warehouses and how much credit which warehouse has used. At the bottom you see that there is a very interactive bar graph where once you scroll over your mouse cursor, you could see that which warehouse has consumed how much percentage of the total consumption. And on the right hand side you see the table which gives you the daily consumption, which can also be, so this is for the current month and you can change the month from here. So we have a drop down, gives you the list of the month, and you can switch the month, that will give you the daily consumption for that particular month. So this is the credit consumption. Credit consumption is the costliest part of the Snowflake economy, and then we have the storage. So storage is relatively cheap on Snowflake. Generally it charges $20 to $25 per TB for a month. So we see that total consumption is just 4.7 KB, and it's very less. And here is the day-wise consumption. So you see that the graph is increasing on daily basis because we are adding some data into the account on daily. And once we drop or clean up all the storage or table, then this will drop, right? Then third section is the data transfer. This data transfer will appear once you transfer the data out of this cloud region. So currently we are in the AWS AP South 1 region, and if we transfer the data out of this region from Snowflake, then we will incur some egress charge, and that will appear in the data transfer section. Then the second section on aside the usage is the billing, and here once you add the billing detail, add the credit card details, that will appear here. You can switch your primary credit card to the secondary one. You can add more credit cards, and this will be needed once you expire your free trial account. The third section is the list of users. Here you can manage the users, and you cannot rename the user, right? So if you want to rename the user, that's something you can do through SQL alter user statement, which I will be walking you through the worksheet later in some next videos. So creation of the user also I will walk you through in the next videos. Then we have the roles, right? So in Snowflake we have RBAC kind of security implementation, where we implement the privilege through roles. So we we grant all the object level privilege to the role, and then role is granted to the user. So we do not grant all any privilege directly to the user. That's where we create roles. By default, there are total 5 system roles, but we can add custom roles as well as per the need. And additionally, we can define the hierarchy of those roles. So I will be coming up with a very detailed video with example sometime very soon in the next video, where I will talk about more about the roles and the hierarchy. Next is policies. So this policy is the network policy. This is not having anything to do with the IAM policy which we see in the AWS. This is a network policy which acts like a firewall, and it will prevent users to access your Snowflake account from unauthorized IP address. So you can basically whitelist the list of IP address here in the network policy, and also blacklist the list of IP addresses which you don't want to specifically allow from the given range of the allowed IP address. So I will be covering up this also in a separate video in detail. Then we have the list of sessions. Here you will see all the active sessions, and you can also manage the session. So managing the session is something we cannot do through this UI, but you can manage the session through the worksheet. So you can kill the session, and you should see that the session is dropped from here. Next is resource monitor. Resource monitor is a kind of tracking mechanism that we put over a single warehouse or a group of warehouse. It keeps keeps tracking the consumption of the warehouse in terms of the credits. You can define a threshold value for the credit for a given month, or for the regular months, and you can define the percentage at what you want to get the notification. So you can set up a notification over an email, or also you can set up an action that it will stop the warehouse for further consumption. So this really helps us to track the unwanted consumption of our warehouse and keep the usage and consumption of our Snowflake account under control. Reader account. So here this reader account is a part of the data sharing feature of Snowflake, where we can create additional read-only account for some of our customer or some of our business unit who don't want to get into agreement with the Snowflake, right? So we can create a reader account, we can share the details with them, and they should be able to log in and manage the administration of the account separately. So we will be talking about the reader account also sometime later in detail. So these are something that we have under the account management, and account management tab can be accessed by account admin role as well as security admin role. So security admin role will not be able to access everything that you see here. Security admin has limited access to this account administration, and when we switch this current role to security admin, you would see that by mistake it got switched to sysadmin. It has to be security admin, and here in this security admin, when we go to the account, we see that it is throwing an error, not authorized to manage this specific object. Why? Because security admin does not have access to the uses section of account administration. So let me go to the billing. Here also it will say that you don't have the permission to see the payment methods. But when we go to the users, right, in users, security admin can do everything. Like security admin can manage users, can create a new user. The roles also, security admin can see, can manage the roles. Policies, so policies can also be created by security admin. It can be managed by security admin. Sessions can also be viewed by security admin. Resource monitor can be created by security admin. And reader account is something that cannot be created by security admin, because if you see, create reader account is deactivated, because this needs exclusive privilege of account admin. So account admin has an exclusive privilege over reader account, billings, and uses. Other than this, security admin can also do the management stuff. Okay. Apart from this, right, account tab, there are some other tabs also which we see in the Snowflake UI. One is your share, right? So this share is like if you are having some inbound share to the account and outbound, if you want to create outbound share to some other Snowflake account, that could be created and managed in this tab. Security admin does not have the access to this tab, so when you switch the role to account admin, you should be able to access the shares. There are two shared databases, inbound shared databases that you will be able to see here. And we have not created any external share, outgoing share as of now. So that will appear null. And when we will be creating a when you will be creating a data sharing, outbound data sharing for another customer, I will be posting a video on this, and you should be able to get more details there. This is the share tab. Okay, and here you have basically this toggle button where inbound is by default selected, and in inbound you have account uses and sample data. These are the inbound share. These are shared by the Snowflake managed team. Okay, and for any inbound share, we need to create a database in our account. So if you see, we have a database named Snowflake, Snowflake underscore sample underscore data. So these two databases you should be able to see in your account also, but this Snowflake database is only accessible by account admin by default. Unless we grant the privilege to other roles, even the system admin will not be able to access this Snowflake database. What is there in this system data Snowflake database is like, all the system related information. You will have the information schema, account usage schema. So those are administrative stuff. Unless account admin is comfortable sharing that data with other roles will not be able to access that data. Okay, so these are by default inbound shares. If you switch to outbound share, we don't have any share. Unless we create a share with and share it with some other account, it will not appear here. We will have a dedicated detailed session on this share sometime later in the next video. Next is data marketplace. So this data marketplace is where you can sell your data, you can purchase data. So this is a kind of new marketplace. Recently, AWS has also released its preview version of marketplace for Redshift. So nowadays you will see that most of the cloud players will have, or they would be bringing in a data marketplace, because data is nowadays going to be a very integral part of business decisions. Then we have a history tab, and in this history tab, this is very interesting, and this is very real-time kind of information that you get here. So any current query that is running, you will see that query is appearing here, and you should be able to see the query execution details live. You can also abort the query from here. So it has a filter option also. You can add filters on the status, which got completed, which got failed. So when I use the failed status, I see that all the queries that got failed, and I will be able to see the reason also in detail when I go. And mostly, we filter it based on the user. So whichever user logged into the current account, they used to see the query result or the history of the query executed by them, right? So we put the filter based on the user. Here, let's say I put the filter on Sacho. So I see the list of queries executed by Sacho, and here is the list of queries. Now, if you see this query, right, copy into this particular table, there is a demo table in the public schema of dev mph matillion lab db, and we basically uploaded one data file into this table through the UI wizard. It was covered in the previous video. So if you see, we have detail about that query. We have the query ID, then the query. This is the SQL text that was executed. Then the user, warehouse, and size. So interesting thing is that in most of the queries you see that the size is not there, and here we have the size. So every query does not require warehouse. This size will appear only where your query actually used the warehouse. There are many queries which could get answered through service layer, where actually the warehouse does not need to be used. But here in this query, warehouse was used because for any data write operation, we will need the warehouse, and that's where we see that the size is appearing here, right? Start time, end time, and this is the total duration. Total duration was 2.7 seconds, and if you hover over this, it has a queue time of 83 milliseconds. So the query was in the queue. Why? Because warehouse was suspended. Warehouse took time to spin up, and that was 83 milliseconds. Then compilation took 2 seconds. Listing of external files took 245 milliseconds, and execution took 408 milliseconds. So execution took lesser than the compilation. Okay, these details we can see in this total duration tab. We don't have to run any complex query for this. Total bytes scan 16, and total rows that got processed is 2. So all these details that comes here in the history tab makes the developer's life very easy, right? And here we can also see through like how our query is performing. We can improve the query performance. So this is very interesting feature. But there is another interesting feature in this is that if you click on the query ID, it will take you to the query detail, where you have the details of the query. Here is the query text, and also here will be the result of the query. Okay, and when you click on the profile, this gives you the graphical representation of how query executed. So basically, if you see it has an external scan. So it scanned the table stage. Then it inserted 2 records. So it read 2 records from there. It inserted 2 records into the table. So here, if you see, it was a DML query. It inserted 2 records, and it scanned all the data because there was no filter at the source. Okay. Similarly, I will be discussing about this query history and query profile in very detailed video, which would be coming in the next set of video series. So with this, we have explored almost all the sections. Let me take you to one more important tab, or I would say the feature where is preference. So in this preference, when you click, you get some of your personal details like first name, last name, then you get your email ID, and here you see an option of enroll for MFA. So MFA is a multi-factor authentication which you can enable to any user, but it is recommended to mandatorily enable it for users who has the account admin role. So please make sure that you all enroll for MFA if you are the owner of your account. And also you can go to the notification section, where you can set that how do you want to get notified. So web, email, all, none. By default you will have none, but when you click on email, you will get the notifications on any internal notification triggers over your email. Okay, so with this we are done with the account and the administrative options that we have in Snowflake Management Console. And in the next video series, I will be coming up with this worksheet. So worksheet is the most important piece of the Snowflake console, and I will be walking you through the different panels of the worksheet tab and some of the very cool features that makes the developer's life very easy. So watch for my next video. Thanks for watching this.